Welcome back to another episode of the Sacred Sisterhood podcast. And this episode is going to be a little bit different. This episode, I am actually on the receiving end of an interview done by the gorgeous Samantha Baldwin of Goddess Reiki YYC. In this interview, we're going to be diving into all things starseeds, all things spiritual awakening, all things about aligning with your purpose. So grab a tea, a cup of coffee, or a glass of wine if you're listening to this later in the day, and enjoy this beautiful conversation. And I also will be putting in the show notes the Starseed Activation Bundle link so that you can check that out and you can get your copy now. Sending much love.
Hi, this is Mary Wright. Mary, you are a women's transformational coach.
Among many other
I was
things,
gonna
but
say, and so
yes.
much more.
It's so hard to put labels on ourselves and try to put us in like a little box. I've never, like, throughout my entire life, I don't put myself in boxes. So
Me
I
neither.
am, I'm a women's transformation coach. I'm a multi-dimensional healer. I'm an ascension guide. I work with neuro-linguistic programming, cosmic shamanic healing,
Jeez.
as well as a bunch of various other channeled modalities, as most light workers use. It's straight from spirit, whatever comes in, that's what flows. And what I specifically work with is I assist women who one day want to bring their sacred work out into the world, like their own version of healing arts, but they know they have so much of their own inner work that they need to do before they get to that point. So I really help women reclaim their power, their confidence, work through their traumas, basically their inner energetic gunky stuff, so that they can call in more light, so they can surrender to the divine, so they can really tap into their gifts and bring their work out into the world. I wasn't always this way, though. I mean, actually, before I dive into my story, I also I'm a grid keeper. I am very much a starseed through and through. I've only known about that for like the last year and a half or
Can you
so.
can you tell us a bit about what a grid keeper is for those who don't know?
So a grid keeper is someone that's very, very in tune with the energetic grids and ley lines of Mother Earth. So I didn't even realize it was a grid keeper, but I was doing a lot of the grid keeper work. Like when I would be walking, for example, I would see energy coming down through my body down into the earth, and then start to move energy to assist any blockages that earth was having, and so forth. And when I was receiving a healing a little bit over a year ago from a multidimensional healer, she had said, "Yeah, you're a grid keeper and you're from Sirius and you're from the Pleiades and so forth." And yeah, and so that's kind of when things really started to open up for me galactically. I had my first galactic contact. It was a little over a year ago. I was sick for 6 weeks. I was going through like a major frequency light upgrade, a flu, right? So my body was like going through some stuff. It was 6 weeks of bronchitis, a flu, sinus infection, just boom, boom, boom. My body was moving a lot of energy. And in that time, my eyes like electrified to this bright blue. And yeah, like my channel was clearing. And all of a sudden I heard, "We are the White Light Society." And I was like, "What is this?" So that was kind of like my first galactic contact. And since then, I've really been exploring with this. I work pretty closely with the seven sisters of the Pleiades, and also Goddess Isis and the seven sisters of the Pleiades. Yeah, I'm a big Isis girl. The seven sisters of the Pleiades are said to be aspects of Goddess Isis, and Isis has been coming through very, very strongly for me lately, especially in some pretty intense root chakra activations that I've been going through the last 3 months or so. And she is very, very present in my life right now. So yeah, that's grid keeping. That's where I'm from, where I'm seated from, and that's the work that I do in the world.
That is incredibly powerful. And I just want to say, like, I'm so grateful you agreed to come on here. Like, I'm not even, a big deal. We don't have a lot of followers, but I am like really excited to get your information out there and your offerings out there, because this beautiful lady has already changed my life with like 4 meditations. So And there's more meditation. Like I'm only on the fourth meditation, is what I should say.
And you are a big deal, Sam. You are such a big deal.
Big deal in the galactics. That's
own it. Own it. Own it.
just maybe not on Facebook, but Facebook has its things going on right now, so I don't really care to be popular on there. But
Facebook does have its things, but I'm very grateful for the tool and the platform, as that's where almost all of my work is done, is through Facebook and Instagram, and of course Zoom as well is where I do my coaching.
yeah. So what we didn't mention is you don't live on this continent.
No,
So
I live in Salzburg, Austria. I live here with my Irishman husband and my 10-year-old dog. I am from Gem, Alberta, though, a very, very small prairie, not even a village, it's a hamlet. So it's just outside of the Zano Brooks area. That's where I am from. I grew up on a farm in a very sheltered family. I don't like to say I was the black sheep of the family, but more so the psychedelic sheep of the family, because I didn't quite fit. And I think that's something that a lot of starseeds can resonate with, is we don't feel like we quite fit until we really figure out who we are, right? And then we're like, oh, okay, that's because I'm not actually from Earth. Like no wonder why I don't quite feel it out here in this dense earthly plane. Um, so when I was 14, my family sold our family farm and we moved to the big city of Medicine Hat, which was a very, very traumatic situation for myself because I was so anxiety ridden and I was a very depressed kid. I was very much with nature. Nature was like my medicine from a very, very small age. But when we moved to Medicine Hat, for me to start grade 10 in a high school, being a very sheltered farm girl, it was very, very traumatic for me. And I didn't feel like I fit. It ended up really, that was kind of the timeline shift where I started to forge my own path away from the conditioning that I was raised in. So I ended up meeting an older guy who was like, everyone has to have their bad boy, right? And he was my bad boy, the one that teaches you like so many lessons. So I fell for the wrong side of the tracks type guy. This like sweet little innocent farm girl was like, oh, he's so dangerous. And anyways, this is where my rebellion really, really started. And I want to just also say that I struggled so much with self-worth, like all of my life, really until I started this own inner work of spiritual work this past like 3-4 years. So this older guy was paying attention to me, making me feel desired, wanted, and whatnot. So there I was, ended up rebelling from my very, very safe and sheltered family. I moved out when I was 16 to be with this guy. Ended up living 3 years in a very difficult and toxic scenario. A lot of drugs were done, a lot of really like intense stuff that I experienced at a young age that really grew me up very, very quickly. And of course, because I was struggling so much with self-worth, I allowed myself to be in these situations, right? But I was also like rebelling against my sheltered roots, right? So, anyways, when I was 19, I ended up leaving that and I went from one end of the spectrum to the other. So basically, before I was living off of mustard pickle sandwiches and spending my last $5 on a hit of ecstasy, and I had dropped out of high school. I was basically finishing high school through correspondence so I could work full time to pay my rent to be with this guy, to living an oil field lifestyle where the guy that I was with that worked oil field, he was pulling in six figures. I had a $45,000 SUV on my driveway. I was living a very materialistic life. I had a jacuzzi tub and a walk-in closet. And so I basically went from one extreme to the other. And so I kind of settled into this life with this guy in this material lifestyle pretty well. I was working at a bank, like I was just like kind of trying to have my shit together. But there was still this part of me that like wanted to rebel. Like that. It just wasn't fully clicking in for me. So that's when I started getting tattoos and started going to rock concerts. And then I'm like, I don't want to work at a bank. I don't want to work for anyone else. I want to be an entrepreneur, F the system and, that sort of thing. So I started network marketing. I like forged my way in the entrepreneurial train. And along the way, I ended up getting really sick with an ovarian cyst, which is what
Oh.
triggered my spiritual awakening. So, as many of your audience knows, when you have gone through things like sexual trauma and rape, etc., if you don't actually deal with the emotional aspect of it, it can manifest in issues in your ovaries and your cervix and whatnot. So that very much was what this ovarian cyst was. It was like, hey, baby, it's time for you to deal with, your teenage years. And modern medicine completely failed me, as like I had surgery to have it removed and it grew back within 3 weeks, so like something was going on, right? So anyways, a dear friend suggested Reiki. I had no idea what Reiki was, and when I heard what it was, I'm like, what do you mean, like energy, what is this? Like I was so removed from it, had no idea. I tried it and it blasted my channel open and it completely changed my life. So all this, I like come home from this Reiki healing and I'm feeling all these energies, and all of a sudden this life that I thought was all cool that I was living with this very materialistic lifestyle did not resonate, did not click. And I was like, wow, there's a whole world out there for me to see. I want to travel. I'm feeling my partner's energy. And as it turns out, he was a narcissist and I was totally oblivious to that up until my spiritual awakening. So things started to shake loose at that point. And I ended up walking away from a mortgage. I walked away from this long term relationship. I moved back in with my parents so that I could start traveling. And I spent a year of being very wild, very free, very single, traveling as much as I could, forging my path down, being an entrepreneur. I was a fitness coach at that time, an online fitness coach, which really got me into personal development for like about 2 years. So in that point, I had hired a life coach to assist me in the transition. And I was just really working on the worthiness wounds, why I was seeking validation from men, why I was feeling less than, all of it. Like I was just going in it. Um, and through all of that, I decided, like, wow, I want to empower women too, because I've been through a journey and I've shaken myself loose of this and have course corrected. I want to assist women with this. So I started studying to be a life coach on my travels. And on my travels, I went to Cuba and I met my now husband, GP, this sexy, charming Irish man on a bus, and he completely like stole my heart. We were all, drunk on the Cuban sun, and it could have just been a holiday fling, but I knew that this person, like, there was something there. So shortly after, I'm starting to be like, okay, I'm going to go over to Austria where he's lived the last 10 years to explore, to see if this is more than just, a vacation fling. I ended up going to Dominican with a friend, and it was like right before I was going to launch my life coaching business, and it was a full moon on the beach, and we were doing a full moon ceremony. And I wrote and I still have it in my moon journal. I said, "Universe, make me the best life coach I can possibly be." I shit you not. I hope I'm allowed to swear on this.
Yeah.
2 days later, not, I think it was a day and a half later, me and my friend go through like a massive trauma in Dominican in our resort. They were running a human trafficking ring out of our resort. And there we were at midnight, fleeing down the beach with nowhere to go. And it was a really, really heavy scenario. Fortunately, we made it home. We're alive to talk about it, but we came home a very different version of ourselves. Big piece of my soul fragmented in that moment. And it was an initiation to work with the goddess. It was an initiation to really begin to work with my feminine energy and to heal my feminine and go into that. So I basically spent 9 months, rather than launching my life coaching business, in limbo, in deep personal healing, working through post traumatic stress disorder. And along the way, I ended up finding neuro linguistic programming. And in one session, it basically healed the entire trauma that I'd spent months in PTSD therapy trying to shift. And so that was like my first modality, that healing modality that I ended up bringing into my practice to bring to women, was neurolinguistic programming. And so that's how it all kind of shifted. And 2 years ago is when I moved over here to Austria with my dog to be with my now husband. We got engaged in Paris and we got married in Spain.
Wow.
So it's been a crazy adventure. And I recognize all of the things along my life, how it was spirit, like being like, Here you go, babe. Here you go, babe. Here you go, babe. Like, let's just put that in there and that you'll have fun clearing that out later. Here we go. Here we go.
Right.
And I mean, that's the path of a healer and light worker. Like, we all have some heavy stuff that we've had to go through, which has shaken our soul up enough to wake from our sleep, from our coma, right? And with me living abroad, it basically, when you move away from that vibrational identity of your home, like where you have your roots, away from your friends, your family, the cultural conditioning, the unraveling process that happens is like I call it rewilding, where basically it was about 3 months where every single day I would go to bed a different person than who I was when I woke up, because the unraveling process of the limiting beliefs, what I believed about money, the worthiness, all of it, like, why do we even celebrate these holidays? Like, everything, it just unraveled and unraveled and basically stripped me down to the point where here I am, my soul, I'm a starseed, and now I'm coaching women through their own journey so that they can bring their magic out to the world. So it's been a lot and it's been
And
incredible.
not everyone may know what a starseed is. So can we dive into that a little bit?
Absolutely. So let's get into it. So a star seed. So basically, 26,000 years ago, there was a group of higher dimensional beings in different planets that got together and wanted to develop a new race of humans. Basically, so that we can ascend, we can call in more light, so we can activate our DNA, because we have 12 strands of DNA in our human bodies, but we only have two of them actually activated. Scientists have said that the other 10 are junk DNA, which never really made sense to me, because why would God give us 12 strands of DNA if we're only going to use two, right? Right. So basically, all these different star systems gathered together and put together all these different energies and codes and gifts and abilities and physical stuff. They basically put all this whole thing together and they brought it down to earth to implement into humans, so that as our humans have evolved, we begin to open up and activate those parts of ourselves. So a star seed is basically someone who is from another planet, who has made a contract to come down to earth to assist earth with her evolution, to assist humanity with their evolution. And so we have agreed to leave these really beautiful, blissful, magical homes to come down to the dense earthly plane to live out thousands and thousands of years of pain and trauma and karmic loops, etc., so that we could get to the point of this very lifetime that we are in, actually, this very moment that we are in, to usher in the new age, the age of Aquarius, the golden age. So the Mayan calendar ended in 2012, which is why there was all this end of the world prophecies, but really that was the end of an age.
Mhm.
So that is when Earth started to really begin blasted by the galactic sun, by our own sun, with all of these light codes, all of these energies to increase her frequency so that she can shift from a third dimensional planet into a fifth dimensional planet, which is basically just a different bandwidth of frequency. We're increasing frequency. So Earth's beginning blasted with these solar storms, these solar blasts, these plasma blasts, etc. And basically what happens to Earth is what happens to us as humans, because we're kind of like antennas, just like trees. We're like antennas. So that energy moves through us and goes down into Earth, and it also comes back up through us from Earth as she receives this, etc. So basically, since 2012, everyone thought, okay, this is it. Like, the whole world's going to be waking up. No, if all of the world woke up like this, our bodies couldn't handle. We'd all be like just light blasts, and we'd just
Fireworks.
like a pink mist, gone. Right. So it's been a gradual process. And so there's been these waves of people waking. For myself, I woke up in 2015, 2016. And so there's been these waves of people waking up to begin to see beyond the illusions of the systems that have been put in place. And as we go on our journey, we begin to remember, like, oh, okay, so I actually am from the stars. I've actually lived many lifetimes. I've actually been contracted here to help serve at this time. So a starseed is just basically someone that's from another planet who agreed to come down on Earth to go through a lot in order to get to this life so that you could help with the massive shift that humanity is making. Because as we know, if we would have continued on for the next 30, 40, 50 years the way that we were doing, we would have gotten our butts kicked off of Gaia, 100%, right? So we know that we need to make a change, but we also need to have the entire globe on board, all of humanity on board with this. So now what's happened with this quarantine is people are actually stuck in their homes, their patterns have been disrupted, and so they're having to actually face off with their inner shadows, their stuff that they've been avoiding because they've been working too much, they've been stressed, they've been sick. It's just easier to numb out and not look at that like painful part of themselves. Whereas us light workers of star seeds, our way showers, we've been like the snow plows. Like we've been already going in it for a hot minute, moving through the heavy stuff so that when the collective actually gets to a point of waking up, that all on a global scale, they don't have to go through quite as much. Like we've kind of like gone through with the snow plow and made it a little bit easier so they don't have to sift through all of it the way that we've had. We've been doing ancestral clearing, karmic clearing. We've been doing so much work. And even if we're not fully aware of what work we've been doing, our higher selves, our multidimensional aspects of ourselves has been doing a lot to prepare us for this very moment in time. And so we are here. If you are watching this, you're one of the ancients as well. You have lived thousands and thousands and thousands of years to prepare for this very moment because you are here to assist. You hold codes within you. You hold ancient medicine and wisdom within you that Gaia and humanity so desperately needs right now to return to a place of balance and harmony and peace.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And I want to just, because I'm raising 2 starseeds right now. One is a teenager and one is a toddler. And I just want to give, parents out there, if you don't resonate with being a starseed yourself at this very moment, you might be later, figure it out. But I know my daughter, my teenage daughter, was suicidal by the time she was 8. And I'm like a badass, goddess mama parent who likes to let her kids be who they are. Like I was not one of those repressive, we have a sex positive family. Like this is just, there was no container that would suggest that she should be suicidal at that age. And I couldn't figure it out, and it scared the crap out of me. And then when she was 12, I was having a Reiki session for my mother blessing. We were doing chanting, like there was a lot of people there, and then I was being given Reiki by basically all Reiki practitioners in the room, but also held people holding space that didn't have Reiki. And she drew something after that Reiki session, and she showed it to me, and it looked like a constellation. It was just dots and lines. And she said, "Mom, this is what I saw in your mother blessing." And I went, "Holy crap, like that looks like a constellation." And so I sent it to my uncle, who's an astrologer on Vancouver Island. And I said, "What is this?" And he said, "Sam, that's Sirius." And I went, "What is Sirius?" Like this would have been 2015. And I was like, "What is Sirius?" Like, I don't even know. And he gave me some information on it, and I was like, wow, that's really mind-blowing, but I don't know what it means. And obviously a lot of starseed stuff came out after that, but I just want to say that Mary has come out with these starseed activations that you can purchase. It comes out to about 70 Canadian. You're paying in euros, but worth every penny. Me and my teenage daughter have been doing them together. Yeah. And because what I learned, I had the pleasure and the utmost honor of meeting and hanging out with for an entire day Alana Fairchild last year. Yeah. If you don't have her oracle decks, like get them. If you don't have her books, get them. If you listen to her meditations, like Alana Fairchild is just the bomb. And she said, she gave a message to Starseeds that day. And she said, we need you. And we need you to help us get to the next level. And it was so interesting because Starseeds don't feel like they belong
Yeah.
anywhere. Like anywhere. They don't belong in Austria. They don't belong here. There's this constant homesickness is like a symptom of a starseed. Like nothing is home to you. And uh and so when I started using that language, like Trinity's 16 now, but when I started using that language, like, we need you to help elevate the consciousness of this planet. I mean, PS, I also took her out of school, which helped a lot. So I started homeschooling her in grade 7, and she stopped being suicidal in that time. So the energies were too much for her in a classroom. And so it's been really cool. Like, I'm probably going to get emotional, but she's been doing these meditations that Mary offers. And seriously, I've done a lot of meditating in my life. Like I didn't have a real big moment of awakening. I feel like this whole life I've been there. So I feel like I came in awakened. I had very awakened parents. And I don't ever remember, like, I just remember I just feel like all of a sudden people are catching up, and I'm like, oh, finally, I'm not the weird one, you know? And so, so I started using that language of like, we need you. And then we started doing these starseed meditations together. So like I said, I can't recommend these enough. And she is a mess after, because she can see her people, like she can see her family. And she said to me the other day, she goes, Mom, like, I've gone through moments of grief with those meditations because she misses them. But she's like, but I feel so much lighter and so much happier. And I was like, yes. So there's like more to your meditations than maybe even you even intended, Mary. Like, and I'm convinced my youngest son is one as well. He's a Pisces, and has that same vibe that Trin does. So yeah, like, my middle daughter's a witch, by the way. That's a whole other story, but definitely on either side of her are starseeds. So I just wanted to insert that in there, like, for parents who maybe your child is depressed and you don't know why. Um, and I just want to address, yeah, so I'll finish that sentence. So parents who are maybe finding their kids depressed and don't know why, like, maybe if you did these meditations, you could help them find, the language, and let them know that they're not at home. you know
Yeah.
like they're not from here.
Yeah.
Crystal says, I feel nervous to do the meditations. Do you think it's because I'm working through shadow work?
I think it's very easy, especially if we've never really had much galactic contact, like much information, right? You have to think about, from a very young age, we've been plummeted by the media that aliens, which I don't like to call them that because I think it's like it's just a derogatory term. They're higher dimensional beings to me, that they're evil. That's what we've been ingrained through media, is that they're evil, and it's a scary thing. If all of a sudden we see spaceships up in our sky, we run and we freak out, and it's the end of the world, right? So you have to think about, the media has sold us this idea, and they have done that so that we don't be curious into contacting, right? So these meditations, it's actually, you can go very into whatever layer you want to go into. So the first one, for example, is a sovereign earth angel. So that one is very much like, especially in these times where we're starting to hear crazy things in the media, like a forced vaccine and whatnot. And, we're feeling like we're being like forced to stay in our homes. There's a lot of people starting to be like, hey, our human rights, like, what's going on here? It's very important that we remember our sovereign power in this time, right? It's very important that we remember that how powerful it is to what we agree to in our realities and what we subscribe to. So the sovereign earth angel is more so just remembering just how powerful you are, even just to be a pillar of peace. When I go into the grocery stores here in Austria, you have to have a mask on. And I bless the people that I walk by, and I'm holding my light, and I'm very intentional when I go in, because there's people running around that are quite freaked out right now. And so I know that by the energy that I hold, the energy of peace, of light, of love, that them just being in my field within like even they say that something like 100 feet all the way around, 100 miles all the way around your energy impacts. Like all it takes is out of 100 people being in the third dimensional frequency for one person to be in the fifth dimensional frequency to activate them and elevate them, right? So even if you don't aren't ready to meet your star family, that's totally okay. You get to choose how deep you go into this. You are 100% in control, in the driver's seat. And the beings that are waiting to meet you, they're of love, right? And you always they're so loving. They're so
That's
loving.
an understatement. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an
they're so loving. And I know that there's like that little bit of fear, like, well, what if they're of the dark? All it takes is you saying, are you of the light? Are you of the light? Are you of the light? And if they're not, which I've never experienced personally, they'll go. There's an agreement where they have to go.
Yeah, because they can't interfere with free will and energetic boundaries too, where you could say, I'm not, I don't play with you. Like I don't that's just like on the outset. I don't deal with frequencies that are lower than this,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. And you can always set your intention with your higher self, like higher self, just please be gentle with me. I'm curious, but I also have a little bit of hesitation. Just please be gentle with me. Um, you can so easily do all of the meditations and not actually go into contacting your star family.
Mhm.
You know, for example, the second one is all about upgrading your template. So we have these grids of conscious, yeah, we have these grids of consciousness within us that have been programmed in us of scarcity, of enslavement, of poverty, of victim consciousness. And that's not something to judge yourself about. It's just something to lovingly go in and begin to clear up, because we don't want that stuff coming with us into New Earth. We're moving into a time where there's going to be world peace, where we're all free, liberated, where everyone knows how abundant they are, and there's an infinite supply for everybody. And so the second meditation is just about collapsing these old consciousness grids to make way for new ones. You
And
know,
I just
they
I just want to jump in and say, like Mary says, it's just you just let go. I'm just gonna interfere as someone who's actually received it because I did that one in the bath. Like I did that one in a salt bath. And Mary doesn't just you don't just no, like it's not just she does this thing where she does this, like she snaps, and all of us like my like left arm was jerking in the salt bath. Like I was like guaranteed it did what it was intended to do. Like I was having physical reactions like every time she snapped, and I was like, I am not impoverished anymore. There is no scarcity in my aura whatsoever. Cleared. Like amazing. The salt bath may have had something to do with the effectiveness. I highly recommend it actually.
wow, wow, thank you for sharing that. Amazing, amazing. Yeah, so then the third one is about connecting, either it's journeying to the galactics or connecting with your soul purpose. So with the journeying with the galactics one, I also have said in it, you can just ask to be taken to a healing realm. We all have a realm up in some dimension that's just for you to heal, to connect with your higher self, to receive. When I go to my healing realm, it's always sunset. It's ocean, and you know when the sun is setting and into the ocean, and it's those really feminine pink and purple, blue pastel colors, and the ocean as she's gently rolling is reflecting that. I'm in a beach house in front of this ocean. It's always sunset. It's never any other time of day. That's what, and it's just, that's where I go. And it's so safe. That's where I really started really connecting with my higher self, was in that place.
Mhm.
Um, as well as the next one is about receiving guidance about your soul's mission here on earth.
Okay, and this is the one I really want to talk about because I haven't gone past this one. But the fourth one is about your purpose. And I was at a retreat last year where 90% of women were either crying or putting up their hand because they didn't know their direction. They didn't know what they were here for. And I think before quarantine, there was a big movement of this, of like people feeling like they didn't fit in their day jobs anymore. And it was constrictive and they were in this box, but they didn't know how to get out of it. And I think this quarantine is just so fabulous for freeing. Like I think of those women. I don't know all of them, but I'm thinking, yeah, like I wonder if they're getting that freedom or that breath that they needed last year.
Yeah.
And So this fourth one is on purpose, and I did it twice in one day. Um,
Do it. You do
so
it.
the and she takes you to your healing place again, basically. And and I want to say that my higher self came to me in a cloak. Like she had the hood on. I've had initiations into, like, from Mary Magdalene, that always involves a cloak. And I've heard her say to me, like, you're one of us now, like that kind of, which, by the way, Isis came from Sirius, Mary Magdalene was connected to Isis, there's all this, and so uh my higher self came to me in this cloak. She's such a badass, of course, and I felt so much love. That doesn't even describe it. Like, yeah, the love is insane.
Mhm.
And then Isis was behind these trees with her wings spread wide out, and that was really magnificent. And you get a lot of messages in this one, and it's incredible. It's incredible. Like, I'm thank you, Mary, for being so open and, like, being able to deliver these to us. And like I said, I've meditated for a really long time, and I really love her pacing. And I love that you pull me right in. And the second time I did the same meditation in one day, it actually, how you said it's always sunset, it's always at the ocean. Well, this time it switched, and I was being bathed in moonlight. Like, before it was daylight, like solar codes. And then when I did it the second time, it was like moon codes, lunar codes, which is really, really cool. And I want to say that, so this cloaked higher self came, and I taught Reiki level 1 yesterday. We were on third eye, and I always invoke Kali for third eye. Okay, always, because she sprung from Durga's third eye. So here I am with my, young Padawans, level 1s, new to all this stuff, and we bring on Kali, like third eye. And so I did Sally Kempton's just so I could do it with them. Sally Kempton has meditations online from Awakening Shakti. So I downloaded those from Audible, and we were doing the Kali one. Well, it's not in her Awakening Shakti book. So I had actually never done that meditation. Well, guess what Kali was doing? Dancing on the sacred fire, and you had a cloak on, and you were taking the cloak off to hand to the sacred fire, cloak of self-doubt, cloak of fear, whatever it was. I just thought, that is hilarious, because I was just in your meditation with my higher self with a cloak on, and then Kali's like, take them off, and it was like
Are you saying you as in me? Like I was there? Is that what you're saying?
oh no, like, because I did your meditation first thing in the morning, like 6:30 in the
Ah,
morning.
okay. I'm with you now.
And then I taught class at 9:30 in the morning, and it was Kali, and I was like, this is so crazy. You can't make
Wow.
this stuff up,
I know. I love the synchronicities. It's so magical. I
Mhm.
live for the synchronicities.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna check the comments here. Okay, Brandy's nodding in agreement. I'm not sure. 2 minutes ago, I'm not sure what we were talking about, but Crystal said that she's in that spot now, and she's wondering what she's doing. Um, Crystal also says, you make it sound so easy. So Crystal, I'm saying dive in, girl. Like, the time is now. That's my
Yeah.
thing. Like, don't hold back.
Yeah.
And shadow work is great. Like, most of us are witches here at Goddess Reiki, so
I'm a witch.
the shadows,
Yeah.
like, the shadows, like, a thing.
Yeah, it's a place to actually get really comfortable in because I mean you have to think about it's within our cycles, right? After sun is the moon, and we're in the beauty at nighttime, right? And we're going through a collective purge right now during quarantine. You know, Gaia is cleaning out her shit. She's cleaning out the dense energies. She's cleaning out the old programming. She's cleaning out these old systems that cannot sustain at these higher frequencies that we're moving into. And so, as the collective is going through their shadow work, we are being called to go into our shadow work. I don't know about you, Sam, but I have been going into some deep, deep stuff. And it's not something to be afraid of. Like, I have felt so empowered through this, of like really owning my power, really owning my root chakra, really like looking at my traumas and being like, I love you. I love you.
Yeah, like I can speak to that. And Crystal, it was about she doesn't know where she's going. Like she doesn't know her purpose. So yeah, that fourth meditation will be bang on.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and some people I'm getting like, you know, that the purpose part, I'm getting a lot of feedback from students and clients that they're getting messages from their higher self just saying they're needing to work on themselves. Like, and that's the first step right now.
yeah.
And that is perfectly fine. You don't have to see the whole path laid out, you know? Uh,
I've never seen the whole path laid out. My purpose has evolved with me.
Absolutely.
100%. Like, the work that I've done with women has basically, I work with women to where I was 6 months ago,
Yeah.
because, yeah. So, like, what I was working through with
6 days
women.
ago, maybe, Mary.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like, what I was coaching women through 2 years ago is totally different than what I was coaching women through now. Like, your purpose evolves as you evolve. And like, for example, when I was channeling the Starseed activation bundle, it literally was like drip fed to me. I didn't know what the whole picture was. I basically, the first one, the Sober and Earth Angel one, I had taken a client through something very similar. And she's like, whoa, that was gold. Can you make me a guided meditation so I can listen to them? I'm like, yeah, sure, babe, no problem. And then later that day, I was doing, like, when I close my eyes, I see a lot of rainbows. So I was doing my rainbow dance thing. I have like this rainbow ball and I'm stretching the rainbow. I was dancing. And all of a sudden, I just Starseed activation bundle. I'm like, whoa, okay. So I knew that, okay, first step is to record that first one for my clients. And then I would just go out onto my grandmother tree. She's this beautiful, beautiful tree. I put my root on her root. I just breathe with her. I talk to her. And then she was like, okay, your next one is the galactic water activation, which is just about working with the water codes and like thanking water for nourishing you, etc. And she also, in that time, had said, and you're going to do an earth activation, which is kind of helping you with a little bit of grid keeping, with connecting with the trees and like recycling your energy with Gaia. And so it just was drip fed. And then after that, I like had to take a few days of just resting and receiving before the next one came through.
Mhm.
And so literally my entire business has been step by step drip fed. I have no idea what's going to happen in 10 days. Like, I don't have that plan.
Yeah, and I want to just speak one more thing to the shadow, because some people don't know what that might mean, and I think you hit it when you said trauma. Um, but just to give you an idea, like I was sexually assaulted when I was 18. So that was like a long time ago. I did a lot of healing work around that. But there were people involved, like there were mutual friends. It was like a date rape thing. There were mutual friends I still connected with, and it got mucky. Like it was the bad boy thing for sure. But anyway, this last April, so a year ago, one of those guys from that life messaged me, and he had been living in my neighborhood for the last 12 years, and we had never run into each other. The right reason I was protected from that is because it would have been a massive triggering, and I probably wasn't ready. So I ended up meeting with him, and he really stirred me up because there was a lot of memories unearthed and stuff I'd forgot about. And I ended up tripping over an old journal, and all the story came out that I had like blocked out. And I was sitting in meditation because he had ungrounded me. Like this experience totally ungrounded me. I was totally whipped up. And so I sat in meditation, like trying to connect back to Gaia. And in that moment, I felt this massive pain in my womb space, like a pinprick. Like I could pinpoint with a pin where that space was on my womb. And it was like so painful. And then all of a sudden it like released. And I was like, okay, so this is the shadow work, is like he came back into my life. He triggered all this so that I could heal it, because that memory was being held in the womb space on that particular point,
Mhm.
you know? And so, like, what a gift, right? I didn't contact him after that. The work was done. I didn't need to go down that road, but that's sort of like the shadow work, you know what I mean?
And it's about forgiveness of yourself. Like that's been a really, really big one for me, especially the last 2, 3 weeks, is moving into those old versions of me who, chose to break my parents' heart, move out when I was 16, to live a really difficult life. Moving in and feeling into her and just saying, I love you. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I forgive you. Thank you, and just releasing her, giving all those old versions of me love. That's shadow work. And it's done in such a loving
Yeah.
place. Any part of me that's still holding on to the unworthiness or feeling like I don't belong or like afraid of my power, afraid to go on Facebook Live and talk about galactics and being a psychedelic sheep and whatnot, right? Like that takes a lot of inner work to get to that place of really claiming it. And you know what? I have these cards. I have these cards that I read out every single day. Are you ready? It
Ready.
is safe for me to be in my skin. I am beautiful. I am sacred. It is safe for me to be in my full power. I remember who I am to the full totality that I am. I accept my innate value and worth, my right to exist and thrive, and accept the love that created me as me in order to fulfill my divine destiny. I have all these different cards of just little mantras that speak
Love it.
to, and we like, no matter how far into this work that you are, you have to do your work every day. Like every glass ceiling that you hit with your business in your life, like I had to do a lot of work. I had a lot of work to feel worthy of my husband's love when I first met him, because there's this whole up leveled man who's all charming and dances and cooks and does Irish accent and all this. Like, who was I to receive his love? I had to go through all of that to feel worthy of that. And we always keep having to go into deeper layers of coming back into wholeness with ourselves and loving ourselves, loving all parts of ourselves. Because our body holds onto the cellular trauma so much longer than what our minds do. Our minds would be like, yeah, I already cleared that, it's fine. And your body's like, nah, your hips are tight for a reason, girl. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I teach yoga, and that is where it gets you. Those like dragons in yin class where you're hip opening for so long, and you gotta feel those feels because they're trapped. And obviously the womb space is a recording device, like I said, and yeah, you're holding all of that energy in there. Mary, you said about the work, and I love the daily work aspect because that almost like bite-sized chunks it for people. Um, you said earlier when we weren't recording that you wake up every morning and do something very cool.
yeah, okay. So since quarantine, I have returned to my lovely rhythm of sleeping in till 10:30 in the morning, and I have finally worked through all of my shame around that, because I have never been so creative and have never been so happy before. And so, so anyways, I like to sleep in, and because I'm a creature of the night. And I'm still laying in bed. I'm just like, it takes me a while to get moving. My husband calls it like stage one, stage two, stage three. Once I go to the couch, I'm at stage four. So, anyways, I'm still laying in bed. I have to get my husband to open the blinds at like 7 in the morning so I can start to naturally begin to wake up. But, anyways, I just always just call upon my higher self before my feet hit the floor. And I just say, higher self, merge with me now. Or higher self, please fill me now. Please fill every cell of my being. Please fill my chakras. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I just feel her come in. And the energies that we've been receiving pretty much since Easter, you have to think about Easter as resurrection time. And wow, like we've been majorly going through a resurrection period of calling upon all aspects, all multidimensional aspects of ourselves. We are resurrecting our higher self. Like she is coming in, she's locking and loading, anchoring in. And this past week, she every time I say higher self, please merge with me now, instantly I hear, I'm already here. I'm like, you are me, I am you. And so that's been a really, really powerful shift for me, is to get to that feeling of not feeling like my higher self is above me or separate, but rather like she's fully anchored in. I don't really have to do the practices to bring her in anymore because she's already anchored in and integrated in, which has been really powerful. But just by you saying that out loud, like it's done sun. We really have to trust the power of our words. And just by us saying, like, thanking her for guiding you, she's guiding you.
Mhm.
Or higher self, thank you for showing me the way. She's showing you the way, and trusting that you're always being guided, you're always being supported.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know with meditation, um, I've noticed I don't have to cut through so much noise to connect.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it.
Yes. Yes. I'm also noticing as soon as I close my eyes, I start journeying, like shamanic
Yeah.
journeying.
Yeah.
So that's been really fun because I could be like in bed with my husband and I'm going on a shamanic journey while we're doing our thing. It's very blissful and magical, it's
Mhm.
incredible. So things are coming in
Yes.
so much easier.
Yes.
And I believe it's May 5th to June 5th is going to be a really, really incredible and powerful time to connect with our galactic families. I'm not sure the whole like star transitions and stuff. I read astrology, it doesn't fully click in for me to be able to regurgitate it. But between May 5th and June 5th, that's going to be a very, very powerful portal for us to be in to receive these galactic messages, guidance, just love, activations, healing, so forth.
And I highly recommend Molly McCord for your astrology stuff. She is
Mhm.
phenomenal on YouTube. She's free. She'll give you like mind-blowing information. Like she channeled Tesla the other day. Oh, I had goosebumps. Like that guy had some stuff to say for sure.
We
Uh,
are moving into Tesla energy, I would definitely say. New
oh
Earth.
yeah, and they were saying like we have this moment in consciousness right now where we can use AI, and I forget the other thing, AI and 5G
Mhm.
actually for our benefit if we play our cards right.
Yeah, I think we should drop into 5G for a second. So there's been a lot of people really freaked out about 5G and the harms and whatever, like with the radiation, et cetera. So this is where that being a sovereign earth angel is very, very important. That you get to decide and declare if 5G is going to be harmful for you or not. Just like with this virus, I've been throughout this entire virus. I'm in Europe, so we've been kind of in the a hot spot. We were pretty sure my husband runs a pub, and we are pretty sure someone infected went through his pub before they knew that he was sick. I am immune. I'm immune. I do not subscribe to that in my reality. So same thing with 5G, same thing with harmful implants and all these sort of dark force, attacks. You do not subscribe to it in your reality. Just like you can make anything organic even without eating organic, because not everybody has access financially to be able to get organic foods and whatnot. I certainly didn't. Moving to Europe's allowed me to do so because there's not a price difference, fortunately.
Ooh,
But
nice.
you can, yeah, it's great. You can bless and release your water of any fluoride. You can bless and release your food of any toxins, any chemicals and heavy metals, so that it is organic. So just with the power of your intention, you're a witch. We're all witches. All right. So even if you don't associate yourself as a witch, we all have a witch in us. Like the power of our intention, the power of our words, it shifts energy. So
And
yeah.
20 minutes of Reiki around a glass of water. So you're made up of water. Imagine what that does. You described it, Mary, as like your first Reiki experience was this opening. 20 minutes of Reiki around a glass of water will return the molecules back to source. It'll be the same frequency as tapped from the source. That is the power of energy work, which is
Yeah.
incredible. I just wanted to show the Starseed Oracle. If you're wanting to jump in, of course, get Mary's. We'll put the link in the comments.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're only available till the end of April, right?
They will be available longer. It's just the sale. So it's basically on sale for 44 euros, which like to the Canadian dollar, it's 70
70.
American, and euro is pretty flux. So yeah, it's on sale for 44 euros until the end of April. Then it's going to go up to 77 euros. So if you're wanting to get it, it's a great idea to get it this week. There's 11 activations, meditations, and even a prayer for you to listen to start your day to really help shift and recalibrate your energy to be in alignment with your higher self, in alignment with your soul purpose. And there also is like a 6-page PDF of just some of my favorite practices, including blessing your water, blessing your food, moving your body to clear your channel to help call in more light and release the density and so forth. So it's all of my favorite practices that I infuse throughout my day to support you on your journey. So we'll drop the link in the comments. I almost just dropped my selenite wand. We'll drop the link so you guys can check it out. And yeah, I am really excited to hear all of your experiences. I don't know if you'll get full body, like, body things like Sam in the bath. That's pretty intense. Like, maybe I should get a sign a waiver or something.
Maybe add that to the PDF. I love it. Also, I'm loving, like, Danielle Noel is like my favorite artist for Oracle decks and or tarot, and she has done the Starseed Oracle with Rebecca Campbell, who did Work Your Light. I'm just gonna pull a card for us. The one I have pulled ad nauseum for the past month is You're Not for Everyone. I'm gonna see if we'll pull a different one. I mean, it's true. You're not for everyone. I think it's great for us to be polarizing if we're doing entrepreneurial work, because we don't want to attract everyone. I don't want to work with everyone.
Yes.
So own that, like, weirdo or whatever, that you're psychedelic sheep,
Psychedelic sheep. Yeah. While you're pulling a card, I'm just going to check the Sheep Hat group to see if there's messages in there or comments, questions.
Yeah, that'd be great. This is the card I pulled for us. It felt really strong. Of course, it's earthed. Learning how to be human in the world, but not of it.
Yes. So right now is all about us learning to bridge the gap and ground ourselves in our body and remind ourselves it's safe to be in our human experience, in our physical realm. It's safe for us to be in the density of Earth. Because we're like the bridges. We're the bridges between the cosmos and Gaia. So we're bringing all that energy down. We hold all these activations from our home star planet, our home star, to assist Gaia in this time, to assist humanity in this time. And like, your purpose might not be in light working. It might be restructuring the agricultural systems. It might be restructuring the political systems, the financial systems. Like, we are seeing the collapse of all those things right now to make way for something new. So we need those brilliant ideas that you have within you that is in alignment for the highest good of all. Because up until this point, those systems have not been structured for the highest good of all. Those systems have been structured to keep us separated. Right. So we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do, but it's beautiful because we are making history. Well, her story. We're making one story. We're making it all right now. Like, this is such an incredible time. So I think as light workers, it's very easy for us to be in our upper chakras and very difficult for us to be in our lower chakras, like the sacral, the solar plexus sacral, and the root, because that's so dense and we're used to really high frequencies. So part of my daily practice is getting me into my body and reminding me it's safe to be in my roots. And that's why I've been going through major roots clearings and recalibrations right now, because this girl needs to feel safe in her body in this earthly plane to do the work that she's here to do. And so, yeah, that's like such a huge piece of us doing our inner work is really feeling safe and grounded in our bodies.
Oh, yay. Courtney's on too. She is such a gem. Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
Well, Mary, this has been ecstatic. I mean, this has been soulgasmic, orgasmic. Like, you are such a light in this world. I am so freaking happy that you were, born and raised in Alberta. I can claim you to some degree. No, I'm just kidding. She's sovereign. I'm just joking. But I'm just so bloody honored that you were on here today, and thank you for saying yes.
Thank you for having me. I had a really great time, and I'm super excited to interview you next week. I want you to jam out about Goddess Isis, because I have a lot to learn about her, and so you're going to bring me everything you got about Isis.
Sign me up.
Super. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and anybody that's catching the recording, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Goddess Reiki of YYC. Much love. Calgary always will be a big part of my home, even though I never lived in Calgary, but it was always the airport that I flew out of.
Right?
So Calgary was part of my